Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Friday Food Fight. My name is Wes Christian, and I am so glad to be with you again for another excellent episode. We have a very special guest this week, and as usual, we've got my co-host, Mr. Bart Christian, nationally recognized speaker, joining us, and we've also got Mr. Mark Webb. Now, Mark joins us today and has, over 20 years of experience in the food service industry and has been working for the past 5 years, I believe it's 5 years, maybe 6 years, with Wild Mike's Pizza. And Mr. Mark Webb is going to be joining us today. He is the director of the Southeast Sales for Wild Mike's. And without further ado, let's welcome our guest here. Gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Wonderful. I got tongue-tied there for a second. It's clearly it's getting close to the weekend. I need a break.
Oh,
yeah, what happens? It happens.
I can't keep up with my days anymore. So
I don't even know how many. I mean, we're out here in California. I don't even know how many days we've been on quarantine out here. So it seems like we're never going to get loose.
Well, I got to say that I'm just excited that I got a chance to get a haircut this week, because the last few weeks I could pull a full 2-inch ponytail in the back of my head.
Oh, that's a good look for you too.
Yesterday.
Exactly.
So, hey, Mark, I got to ask you a question. In talking to you, and I know that you are, and I put in the promo that you are a living legend in the child nutrition industry in North Carolina, and people know you all over the country as the Wild Mike's guy. But one of the few things that I learned about you that people don't know, and that is that you're actually an ordained minister.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
Yeah, and I think that's, praise the Lord. I'm all excited about that. I think it's all about the way we walk and live, right?
There you go, and that's what it's about. Like I say, it's not what I tell you; it's what I can show you. So,
amen.
I don't try to wear it. I don't try to hide it, first of all, but I don't try to force it down anybody else's throat. We've all got to answer for ourselves. So,
well, and another thing that I when we had your cohort, Mr. Reggie Ross, on our program a couple of weeks ago, and I found out that Reggie was a singer, and come to find out, lo and behold, you're a singer too. And
yes.
Tell us. You told me an interesting story about back in the day when you were singing. Share that with us.
Well, the younger folks won't know anything about this, but they were back in the long ago in a land far, far away. There was a show called Star Search, which starred Ed McMahon, and I actually did go try out for that at one point. Didn't make it, thankfully. I'll probably be on a different road than now. But Reggie, now that you mentioned Reggie, Reggie and I, we do a sing-along kind of skit at the North Carolina show every year.
Really?
So that's exciting. There's a bunch of the lunch ladies there and directors that they have kind of a talent night, and Reggie's on the piano and I'm singing. And there's another funny story. I'll give you the very, very short version. One year we were singing and I had my eyes closed and the people were just cheering and carrying on. And I'm thinking, man, this is the best I've ever done. The way the crowd was going crazy. And I opened my eyes, and one of the food service directors, Miss Cindy Marion out of Yadkin County, she's over there with a pair of ladies, had to be 10X underwear, swinging them around in the sky, in the air. So, I completely lost it. The first time I have ever been silent. I just couldn't even say another word. So, Cindy, if you're watching this, I remember the underground.
So. Oh, I've been on a lot of stages, never had any underwear thrown at me.
That's when you know you're doing a good job.
That's exactly right.
That, or she wanted me to get off the stage, one or the other.
So before Wes gets started, one more question. Wild Mike's is probably one of the most innovative marketing companies that I've seen at the child nutrition show, and I've been to lots of them over the last 25 years. And they have a particular symbol that is at every show I've ever seen. They've got this giant, huge monster truck. Tell us the story of the truck.
Well, the truck, as some may already know or may not know, our company is headquartered out in Clackamas, Oregon, which is about 20 minutes out of Portland. And I think you have to own a truck if you're in Oregon. Every time I've gone out there, that's all you see is trucks.
It's the law.
So, yeah. And so the owner of our company, which is Mike's brother, Steve, He went out a couple of years ago. It's probably been, I don't know, 4 years ago now, maybe five, and bought a Ford, a 950. And so it is the largest passenger vehicle truck that I've ever seen. I think they said Shaquille O'Neal is the one that made it famous. He owns one. And we take that around the country. It does tours around the country and goes to as many shows as we can get it to, and grand openings for our retail division at grocery chains and schools, as much as we can get it to a school and whatnot. And we actually had it inside at the Vegas show last year and had plans to have it inside this year. But as we all know, ANC was canceled. So, but I did have the privilege of carrying about 8 directors up the Vegas Strip in that monster truck. So it is a very beautiful marketing, wonderful thing, and the directors love it. Cool. The kids love it, and I think even the those that were a little inebriated in Vegas on the sidewalk love that big air horn that we have on there.
That's hilarious. Mike, to jump into today's show, I would love to chat with you a little bit about some challenges and opportunities also for industry partners and the child nutrition world. And specifically, what do you see on the horizon in this upcoming school year for the partnership between industry and school food authorities? And how can we really make that a successful, I guess, new normal that we're moving into?
Okay. And as you all know, and everyone that's viewing knows, that this thing hit us, this COVID-19 hit us, out of nowhere, basically. We had very little, some folks had very little time to prepare for this. One of the great things I can say about our company is that several items that we already have that are, say, IW type items, we've had them in production for years. And so it was just a simple fact of getting them in front of the districts that need them, and need them quick, fast, and in a hurry. Of course, production and shipping, that's a whole nother story, and distributor space for those that don't take any direct deliveries. But it was a challenge. It was probably a challenge for maybe some of my some other manufacturers a little more so than us, because again, we already had product in our production line ready to go for something like this. It has been traditionally used more in the summer feeding arena, or backpack or supper programs or things like that. So people weren't familiar maybe so with using them on a main lunch line, or main lunch entree option. But we've had those products. The problem is that, none of us have that crystal ball. So we don't know what tomorrow's going to hold. We don't know if it's going to be business as usual come August and September, or if there are, any interesting changes that are going to need to be made.
Have you seen any supply chain issues or anything along those lines with the items that you guys provide specifically?
Not so much for us. Again, well, what we had to do, say, for instance, our 16-inch pre-cut pizzas have been traditionally our number one selling items for. So, of course, that is what is back in January, February. That's what we were cranked up and making more so of that versus some of the IW items. So we had to see things kind of take a halt on our 16-inch, and so I won't say completely, but from the production standpoint, to start producing more of our IW items. So for us, we haven't seen that much of a interruption, if you will, because again, we had the products already, menus. I'm sorry, not menus, but recipes for them ready to go. We just needed POs. And again, of course, you run into what the distributors have on hand. Some distributors were saying, well, I still have X amount of cases on hand of your pre-cut product, your 16-inch. So even though even some of the districts were crying out for IW, we had to find a way to help them get rid of a lot of that pre-cut product. And so what we did, our quality control team did, was they went in and they did their homework, and they started coming up with some take-home options for kids to take the raw product home with them. I'm sorry, not raw, but frozen product home with them and cook them at home. And we even went back again and came up with microwave instructions so that those kids, unfortunately, who are at home by themselves during the day, could still have a healthy hot meal, for lunch.
What is IW?
Individually wrapped. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Our individually wrapped product. We have about 8 to 10 products that are individually wrapped. So, normally in a traditional normal school setting, they would buy more so of our full round pies that are pre-cut. And then we have some that are 10 cut and some that are 8 cut. And they would buy more so of those for the traditional lunch line. But now that they're having to send the lunches home and pre-package them, again, ours is we have several products that are individually wrapped. So what that helps also is the handling. Of course, everyone still should be sanitizing, washing their hands, and whatnot. But with this product already being individually wrapped in an ovenable wrap, mind you, it's in an ovenable Mylar wrap, so you can actually put it in the oven, and the Mylar will not melt. But again, if you have some of those younger kids or those parents that say, I don't want my kids messing with the ovens, we've got it. We've come up with our microwave instructions as well. So they could just throw that package right into the microwave or the oven, cook it up, and then anywhere depends on, if it's frozen solid or not, anywhere from 7 to 13 minutes, have a hot meal.
Wow. Did you see people sending home? I know the lot of districts were sending home entire meals or multiple
Mm-hmm.
days of meals. So did you
Mm-hmm.
have customers that were sending home entire 8 or 10 cut pizza pies?
We did. We actually have some packaging that we normally traditionally the schools had not been taken advantage of, which we have some boxes that would hold. Traditionally it would look like a box that you would get from one of your mainline down the street pizza guys that would
Mhm,
deliver to you.
mhm.
So we have some of those boxes available as well. And I had some distributors and some districts get together and say, hey, I can send a whole pie home, and that pie should last them 4 days, 4 meals. And so they were sending home those full pies, and that helped out everybody. It helped the distributors get rid of the inventory. It helped ensure that the kids were getting meals. It also helped the districts on their labor. Just like which I don't, of course, don't handle any milk products, but I've seen some districts giving away gallons or half gallons of milks to families. And so same concept. They give them a whole pizza and send it home and have them trust them to cook it up.
Mhm.
And so I'm sure that, with your position, you've been involved with a lot of different web meetings here recently, talking about the future of the industry. What are
Yes.
some of the concerns that you're hearing, from the Wild Mike side, and then also maybe just from some of your other partners in the industry that you've had conversations with? What are some of the things that you're hearing as being a concern for this upcoming school year?
Well, from what I'm hearing, and you're right, after this is over, if I never attend another webinar, I'll be okay. You know, I've had my fill,
Yeah.
but what the biggest issue is that there's still so much uncertainty. No one has that crystal ball. No one has that clear cut answer, and that's where I would implore, that parents, kids, we all know that this is very uncomfortable, but be patient. We've got to let this thing play out. We've got to let the decision makers come up with the best plan possible to ensure everyone's safety. So the biggest issue I see is that there's still so much uncertainty. Even from our company, this is the time of year where we're normally doing our forecasting for school year 2021. Forecasting is basically out the window right now because we have no idea. Are kids going to be eating normal lunches? Are they going to be eating staggered lunches? Are they going to be eating lunch in their classroom? Are they going half days and sending them home? No one knows. So it's kind of hard for us to prepare for the unknown when no one has a clue what it is, what's going to happen here. So we're just trying to, I know for us, I can speak for Wild Mike's, is that we've cranked up our production. We're normally in, May, June. It's a slower couple of months until the July rush for back to school. But we're ensuring our customers that we're full speed ahead. We're not slowing any production down this summer. Our freezers will be fully stocked and ready with both items, whether it be traditionally going back to the pre-cut or if it's going to be an IW, we will have those items ready and waiting for our customers. The other obstacle I can see is that, of course, bids were already awarded or in the process of being awarded. And so, say for instance, if the bid called for a cut 10 cut pizza, and now the district has to slide it, have to go over to an individually wrapped. So now does that have to go back out to bid? Are they going to be able to get the product they want and that they need to feed these kids? And so that's an issue where I hope school boards and all the decision makers are really taking into effect that, there may have to be some addendums made, some changes made in order. My goal is to feed kids. I don't care how it has to happen. We have to feed these kids. So.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, pizza, luckily, is a pretty easy thing to eat, and regardless of what type of environment you're in, whether it's on the go or you're sitting in the schoolyard or you're in the cafeteria lunchroom.
Yeah.
If you had to take a stab at it, what's your personal gut say about what to anticipate for this upcoming year for what the serving period is going to look like?
It's scary, because unless they would somehow, and I don't see how they honestly could extend the day. You don't want the kids have to have breakfast and then lunch, so you couldn't start. Most of them are starting their lunch traditionally again 10:30, 11 o'clock already. So how do you string that out any longer? I mean, do you go to breakfast at 7:30 and then you go to lunch at 9? I mean, you know,
Mm.
so it's going to be really interesting to see what the plan is and how they are, really going to be able to work this out and get the kids in line. We've heard so many different rumors, which I won't dare try to mention all of them because right now they're all rumors and nothing concrete. But, it's very interesting as to how some people are thinking this thing will play out, again, whether it be, staggered school days or in the classrooms. But I had another friend in the industry even asked the question that, well, the kids that are depend on the school buses to get to school, how are you going to socially distance them? I drove a school bus back in the day when teenagers could drive school buses, and so you've got 30 whatever 40 kids on this bus. How do you social distance them? How do you
That's a great point. Yeah.
continually tell a first or second grader to keep your mask on or stay away from this kid or keep your distance or whatever? It's almost impossible. So I really, I applaud SNA and the folks that are, on a different scale than I am, that are making these hard decisions. But I honestly don't see how they're going to come to any clear-cut conclusion.
Don't you think we're going to just have to kind of, and this is just, you asked for gut feelings. This is my gut feeling. Don't you think that we're going to have to come to the realization that this is something that if it hangs around, and that's a big if, but if it hangs around, that we're going to have to figure out how to continue to educate and feed kids in a congregate manner, because there's not going to be, you brought up school buses. That's one thing. Classrooms is another thing. What a lot of people that are watching all the child nutrition people do, but don't realize that there's well over 30 million kids every single day that rely on school for breakfast and for lunch, not just one or the other, but for both. And for many of those kids, that is in essence the most nutritious meals they get in the day. So it's going to be such a balancing act. But I do believe there's going to come a point where the people in power are going to have to come to grips with the fact that we're maybe not going to be able to keep some people from getting sick.
Yeah. I almost chuckle a little bit when I see all the plexiglass, which I know it's a good thing, but I saw one photo of another country that had plexiglass, little plexiglasses set up in front of the kids at the lunchroom table. And of course, they had it three-sided. Well, I'm thinking, well, if I'm a kid, all I have to do is back up to talk to my friend over here, So how does that, I don't honestly know how that helps. Again, there are people higher up than me that are going to have to make those hard decisions. But I can assure you that one thing we're doing, especially like even at our plant, is we're testing all of our employees, taking temperatures, we're doing all the right stuff. Knock on wood, thank God that we have not had any outbreaks or any
Amen.
sicknesses hit our plant. And God, I hope I don't talk it up now that I've said that. But and then we're doing temp checks. We're shutting the plant down for 4 hours every day, twice a day, to clean it and make sure all the equipment is cleaned, and different things like that. So we're taking all the necessary steps that we can think of at this point, to try to ensure that we don't have this outbreak and don't further affect anybody with this disease.
I think those are excellent, things to take into consideration to look at. Along those same lines of temp checks and things like that, what do you think are some actual practical measures that school nutrition departments and really any food service operation can take to really show their customers that it's safe to come back and eat again? I mean, those are all excellent ways that you guys are showing your customers that it's safe to continue to purchase your products from you. What can the actual, your customers show to their customers?
And a couple things I've seen that are great, and I'm glad to see it, is of course the hand washing. It's and unfortunately some of the simpler things that we should have and everyone should have been doing all along anyway. But the hand washing, the sanitizing, and things like that. But one thing that on the flip side of that does bother me is that when you see people gathered together without a mask or without any kind of, I anyway, without any kind of garments on to protect from. So if they can show that the staff is, social distancing, cleaning, sanitizing, that kind of thing, and again, make sure that the companies that they are working with are doing any and everything they can. And of course, I won't talk about anybody else's company, but ask we're inspected by USDA twice a day in our plant. So, ask the companies that you're working with. We actually have, and at one point, but we've grown some more. At one point, it was 2 USDA reps in our plant that had an office there. So, and they're not employed by Wild Mike's or SAP Piazza. So, we can't go in there and tell them, hey, come on, approve this and let's slide on. They're employed by USDA. So we have all that going on in our plant. Question the manufacturers that you're working with. Get the QC records if you need them, whatever you need to do to ensure your parents and your kids that, you are doing everything you can to make sure that they are safe.
And Mark,
That's okay. I've been called worse.
Wow, Mike's Mark. They, you and I both know you've worked in food service for many, many years and child nutrition for the past few. And I spent many years in retail food service too, before I made the transition into child nutrition. And you and I both know that schools are among the cleanest operations, period. Mm-hmm. I've been in 5-star restaurants that were, had white tablecloths and fine dining out front. And I'll go in the kitchen and go, I am not ever going to eat here. And I have to date not been in a kitchen in a school environment that wasn't clean. And the people didn't take pride in that cleanliness.
Schools get a bad rep, and it's unfortunate that people that will find one issue or be upset with the manager or staff or something, and they could or blow one thing out of proportion. And I agree with you, because before getting into the K12 arena, I was more so on the food service side, and I'm with you. There's several restaurants that I refuse to go into again because I've been in that back door and I've seen some practices, and you don't see that at the schools that I have been to. And the great thing about it is it's just not when they're being audited. This is everyday practice that most, everyone I've been in has been a very clean, sterile, environment, and making sure that they're doing the proper things.
Exactly.
So when we're looking at this upcoming school year, Mark, what are some things that you would recommend to school food authorities when they're budgeting and looking at different items to either add or to discontinue? What would you recommend as some things to consider before adding or dropping any industry partner?
Again, reach out to them. And I know it's difficult, especially when you deal with co-ops or, buying groups, that they all have to come together and make this, unified decision. And in some instances, it's easier for the independents to make changes, which, I know they still have rules that they have to go by as far as bids and things like that. But one thing that I would suggest or recommend to them is to reach out to their current manufacturers, reach out to any of us manufacturers. One thing that um, I've had some directors tell me over the years, if I go to see them for the first time with my pizza and they say, "Oh, I've been with XYZ Pizza all these years and I'm good." I say, "Well, I'm glad you're good, but mine is great. So why don't you try mine?" So, give us the option, give us the opportunity rather to try it out. And especially now, I know that they are running ragged. I see several of my director friends and colleagues that are running, Sunday to Sunday, trying to ensure to get the foods they want. But now would also be a good time to reach out to these parents and kids to maybe do some type of surveying on some products that, no, we can't come in and do student testing right now, but say you're using my individually wrapped pizza for the first time for your emergency feeding or summer feeding program because you needed this IW program product now. Go back to them after you've served it and say, "Hey, what did you think about that product? Is that something that you would buy if you were had the option in the cafeteria?" So why not, take advantage of that when you're feeding them anyway, and get the products that that they love.
Well, don't you also think that in this time and that child nutrition always was kind of on the back burner in a lot of districts. It was not something that got a lot of attention. It was something that maybe got overlooked, or sometimes, I've mentioned many times to groups that I feel like child nutrition can be among the most underappreciated people in a school at any given moment. But in the
Absolutely.
last 2 months, parents have gotten a chance to see the food. They've gotten a chance to prepare it themselves and see what kind of work goes into it, and to really begin to understand that two things: that school lunch is not what it used to be. Pizza's not the
Absolutely.
big square like me and you remember. You know,
Absolutely.
it's a fresh pizza. The products that are coming in the bags and are good quality items. And so,
Hmm.
I think the face of child nutrition has been elevated to such a high level. My hope is that by working with guys like you, that we can continue to elevate child nutrition so it stays there.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And that's one thing, our company I can speak on is that the owners of our company, owner Steve and Mike and the powers that be, they only believe in quality products. We don't have any 50-50 fake items. And in fact, the only artificial thing in our product is the vitamins that the government requires us to put in. Everything else is all natural, U.S. Grown, and so one thing about him is he says, "I'm not going to feed my kids crap. I wouldn't want to eat crap, so I'm not going to feed your kids crap." So we believe in quality product at Wild Mites, and that was one of the things when I first came over. I was actually the broker for 3-4 years before coming over to work directly for Wild Mike's. And so, I would always ask, but I still see some 4x6s on menus, why don't we have one? And he said, "Well, when you go out to a restaurant, do you go get a 4x6 slice of pizza? Do you go get a round slice?" So we don't make any of that, items like that. We believe in quality. We're on second and third generation of our company. Their father, Ron, started the company. He was a butcher, and Portland City Schools went to him way back years ago and said, "Make me a pizza," and the rest, is they say, is history. So
So let's transition real quickly and let's talk. We've talked a lot about change and what to expect in this upcoming year. I'd love to get your perspective and your opinion on what type of opportunities you think school nutrition professionals are facing in this upcoming school year.
mm. When you say opportunities, I don't know if you mean it as far as challenges or some ways that.
So specifically, what I'm referring to is we've all been faced with a changing time. And we can look at it one of two ways. We can either look at it as a challenging situation that we just have to get through and then everything's going to hopefully go back to normal, or we can look at it as an opportunity and say, well, let's make the best out of this. When life gives you lemons, we make lemonade. What would be your perspective for a school nutrition professional to take the lemons that we've all been given and to turn that into lemonade right now?
Well, first off, I'm in North Carolina, so we make lemon pie. We wouldn't make lemonade. No, just kidding. Um, I think it's been a great eye-opening experience that hopefully the school food service directors have been begging for things for years. We go and we march on the Capitol and we march on Washington and we beg for these things that should be, simple, 2 cents, 3 cents, whatever it is, whatever our ask is for that year. And I know for a fact that there's several that have gone to even to their school boards or their superintendents and asked for several of these assistances over the years, and hadn't been able to get it. I hope now, even like you said, in this crisis, that opens other folks' eyes to say, okay, they need that extra funding, or they need this, or whatever they're asking for in their individual districts as well, to ensure, the best way for the powers that be to see what's going on. I say they need to drop on a mask and get out there and help these ladies and gentlemen feed these hungry kids, and they'll see what's really going on out there. Boots on the ground. They've got the answers. So the opportunities I see would be now to say, once everything dies down and these ladies and gentlemen can catch their breath, to say, okay, here's what we had to deal with. Now you see why we asked for what we asked for. And not just from school boards and congressmen and women, that kind of thing, but even from manufacturers. Again, I applaud us for having products that were ready, but there's been several manufacturers that didn't have anything or don't have anything, or having to go back to the drawing board to, oh, can we make this? Can we produce this? Can we package this? Thankfully, we had the foresight years ago to already have something like this available. So again, the opportunities I see are: communicate with us on the industry side. Tell us what you need. Give us that 15 minutes in front of you, or answer our emails when we bug you. And that's one thing, I've tried my best, and that's been hard for me is during all of this, is to leave my directors alone as much as possible. I know they've got a million other things going on, but we are here to help them. Our broker network, they are here to help them and assist them in getting them what they need, so that would be the opportunity. I would say take advantage of this time and make that lemonade. We love lemonade too.
I will add on to what you said about vendors is that begin to think, what if this were to happen again next year, or in 2 years, or in 3 years? What vendors were prepared and what vendors were not? Now, not that other vendors won't make pivots and become prepared, but
Right.
but the reality of it is that there are those of us who forward think and develop things before a problem happens, not in anticipation of a problem, it's just the way we are. And Mike's is clearly one of those kind of companies, because your ability to quickly throw that individual wrap product together, your ability to quickly deliver those, because I've talked to people and I know that have been able to deliver those large pizza pies so people can send them home en masse. Just the ability to do that is something that so many manufacturers were struggling with 2 weeks ago.
And I'm the type of person too and I will say this too, and my recommendation for the directors also is to communicate with your manufacturer, me, whomever it may be. Communication is the key. Don't take the first no you get as a no. And I'm trying to say it correctly here. I had an incident, back when all of this first started, where a director said, well, I can't get your product. And I'm thinking, I don't know why you can't. You cut me a PO, I'll get it to you. So communicate with your manufacturers. Don't depend on a first no. I'll just say it that way. Don't depend on the first no. And we know you don't have time to babysit. And that's unfortunately what happens a lot of time, is that the directors don't have a lot of extra time to chase something down or chase down a product. That's why we're here. We're the guy to go get you what you want. Your broker network, your manufacturer reps. Get with us. Tell us what you need, and I guarantee you, not a salesman out there, a salesperson out there that wouldn't do everything they can to make it happen for you. So be sure and communicate with us on that.
Well, if I could throw one other thing in there, you're talking about selling, just a little set, since we're talking about industry stuff. The average salesperson gives up after the first or second no.
Uh-huh.
The most successful salespeople persist until 7, 8, 9, 10, because that's generally when you get the yes. And the difference between a great salesperson and a not so great salesperson is just simply being willing to be persistent.
Exactly. I like to call it planting seeds.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're sowers. We're all sowers. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing about it is, and you've got to find that fine line that they don't roll their eyes at the back of their heads. Also, every time they see you, saying, "Oh God, here comes Mark again." So just know that we're here to assist them. We're here to get them the products that they need and want to make sure that their programs run smoothly.
And focus on being a relationships and being a resource, because child
Absolutely.
nutrition is not a business like restaurants where you go in and you just show your catalog of goods. Child nutrition is a business that's built on relationships, and people do business with people that they know and they know care.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And, I've never been the type of salesperson over the years. And thankfully, I haven't been that, I'm going in your office, a director's office today to say, oh my God, I got to get this sale today. I'm like you. I want to be a resource to them.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to know that I have the product. I'm here if they need me. If they need me to do anything to assist them, that's why I'm here. I don't like a pushy salesperson. Is just like no one else does. I go into a store. Ask me one time if you can assist me. If I say no, leave me alone. No. So, but we are a resource for them, and so that's what I want them to understand.
Well, any last closing remarks as we kind of wrap up the show today? Any tools, strategies, just anything in closing that you'd like to add before we sign off?
No, not a lot. Well, I say no, and then I keep talking. I'm a talker, sorry. But again, I have to reiterate that even if you haven't used our product or haven't looked at our product in the past, know that we have products available individually wrapped, which is every webinar that I have been on since this pandemic started. That I've heard that word so much. Individually wrapped. I need individually wrapped, or I can't get my individually wrapped. You can get your individually wrapped. We just have to help you get it there, whether it be, and I understand that distributors have their own set of issues that Mark knows nothing about, because I've never worked for a distributor. So I know they can't just bring in overnight everything that Mark wants them to bring in. But at least if we can push the needle and try to assist each other, and to get in the districts what they want. So again, it goes back to that. We have the products. Communicate with us what you need, and we'll move mountains. I know that my 7 co-workers and there's 7 of us now across the country, whereas at one point there was only 2 Wild Mike's reps in the whole country. Well, there's 7 of us now, and so we're in every state in the U.S., whether it be commodity or commercial. And so we have people out here ready and willing to assist you. I think Bart's going to give you my contact information. I don't care where you are in the country, in Hawaii, Alaska. Just let us know. We will come. We will come see about you, and we'll get you what you need.
Well, I just have one closing thing, and that's this. Mark, you told me that that you were scheduled to do something very important at this year's ANC, but you're not going to get to do it. I'm not going to ask you to do it right now, but
Thank you.
Tell us what that was going to be.
Well, you mentioned our good friend, incoming President Reginald Ross. See, I'm just so used to Reggie.
Me
I
too.
have to, see, he's just Reggie to me. I've known Reggie for, I can't even count the years. Great friend, great man. He's going to do some great things, even though it's going to be a challenging year. But I know he's going to do some great things at SNA. And I was on track to. He had asked me to sing the national anthem at ANC this year, but of course that didn't happen or won't be happening. So So anyway, they'll have to go pull up the North Carolina SNA website and see if they have any clips of it on there.
Let's see if I can't dig that up and show it on a show, future show.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate your time, Mark and Bart, and I can't wait to have you guys back on the show again. This has been another episode of Friday Food Fight. We will have all of Mark's contact information in the show notes. We will also be having contact information for Bart and also School Food Handler. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and we will see you again next week for Friday Food Fight. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Take care.